What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Rams Brothers, the pod. I'm your host, Dean, and I'm joined by the other host of this show, Nick. And Nick, we're both dressed in black. We both noticed this right before we jumped on to the episode. It's not the Rams' funeral. There's another week to be played. We will be playing the Cardinals in the wild card round on Monday night. But Nick, how are you after a tough loss?
I did not wear black intentionally today. I intentionally did not rep the Rams, which some people would call me a bad fan. It's like, oh, you got to rep them no matter what. I just couldn't after such a pitiful loss. And today people were actually like poking fun of me at work because they were like, wow, all black today. They were like, who died? And I was like, you know who died. The chances that the Rams going far in the playoffs, which isn't necessarily true,
No,
but that loss is going to leave a sour taste in your mouth until you do something good. And to lose six in a row to San Francisco with your new shiny quarterback and Von Miller and OBJ, and you get all these pieces and it's still not enough to take down Shanahan and you blow a 17-point lead. Like, I'm pissed. I mean, how can you not be pissed?
Yeah. I know. I'm as pissed as it gets. I'm laughing because you genuinely make me laugh. But as I was writing the script, I have a headache. As we're now recording,
I had a headache today too. But
we're now recording. Yeah, it's directly correlated with this team and the Rams. But of course, our job is to sit here, analyze the game, give you guys some non-biased feedback and all that good stuff. But I mean, what is there not to be pissed off about? I mean, this was the most irritated. I mean, in the Sean McVay era, in a regular season game, and the conservatism, later on in the game is a different story, and that should be saved for, something either early on in the season or if you're up 14 points in a playoff game. But it's the most frustrated I've been after a loss in the regular season in the Sean McVay era, just because they had the game put away. And when you feel like you genuinely sitting there as a fan, you're like, okay, multiple times in this game, not only in the first half, but in the second half, towards the end of the fourth quarter after they scored that final touchdown, you felt that they had a legitimate chance to put it away. Next Gen Stats tweets, less than 1% chance that the 49ers had to pitch a perfect game with 1 minute and 50 seconds left in order to just get that game into overtime. Like, it was so improbable.
The two costly third downs at the end of the second quarter and at the end of the fourth quarter. The second quarter, which I'm sure we'll get into here, but when you're empty on like third and inches, like trying to go for a home run, when you just need like literally inches, and then that switches the momentum. They drive down the field, they get a field goal going into halftime. And the stat shows up on screen.
We'll talk about it plenty. Yeah, I know. Yeah, we'll talk about it plenty. First off,
you gotta laugh, otherwise you'll just I can't legitimately think about it. I mean, but that's what we're about to do. But it just gets me angry because it was so horrible.
No, I know. It's as frustrating as it gets. I mean, for a fan who is frustrated, they carry that into today. You carry it in all throughout the rest of the week. It's that kind of game. So there's no reason to not feel horrible, to not feel frustrated, to not be pissed off. And the players feel that as well. I mean, we were tweeting after the game that they're probably not even celebrating. McVay came out and commented, said, this is a resilient group, and it's probably not the right time to celebrate. Amongst all of the great accolades that this team has been able to put together, the amount of accomplishments, despite adversity, COVID, losing coaches, bringing in players, star power, all the storylines that swirled around them, despite all that, you still put together a pretty good project here. So at the same time, to say they're a resilient group and not even put on the hats and the gear and to celebrate it the way that you normally would, it proves that, they've been there before and they have a goal that's far beyond just winning the division and winning a wild card round. You want to get past the division round, get to the conference championship. And it's tough because you take a loss like that. Otherwise, you're cruising 6 straight wins. You're the 2 seed. You play Trevor Siemian and the Saints in your home stadium the following week. Like, the situation just drastically changes and the game goes into overtime. But I mean, of course, I was sitting there. I had to tap into my Golden Road Brewery, of course, my Golden Road beer. I had some Michelobes. I also mixed in some Golden Road, the official beer sponsor of us, of the Rams, whose house.
Not Michelob.
Not Michelob, but Golden Road. And we'll start that off because that was my first choice of beer. But the first half, we'll go into the first half and then we'll kind of break it out throughout the rest.
Wait, hold on. Just to tap in on something you said,
please,
about celebrating. and the backlash that this team is getting. Von Miller tweeted something out today that I felt like reading this made me feel like the season's over. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I read it too.
Yeah, he tweets, "I said this Ram team has more talent," in quotes. I didn't say this team was better. We won the Super Bowl in 2015. It obviously doesn't get any better than that. Hopefully, we can do the same with the Rams team. And then he two emojis. They're diamonds, but they're not Rams colors. They're Broncos colors. Yeah. So the hopefully we can do the same with this Rams team. The hopefully. I mean, that tells me that like the locker room right now is completely depleted.
There had to have been a weird mojo going on in the locker room after that because you won the division championship, but you can't really celebrate it.
Well, all of a sudden you're the 4th seed,
right?
Which is just,
and nobody was. I mean, you're not even expecting, and plus Arizona loses, right? So that kind of throws off the whole playoff formula algorithm. So then, of course, you fall into the 4th seed. They lose that game. They win the division championship, and they fall into the 4th seed. They're like, "The hell even happened?" It's just such a whirlwind.
Like I mean, well, one, if you're repping like this new Rams like divisional championship gear, I think that's just like so soft.
Oh, I'm repping it in our next episode.
Why? That's so soft.
Just because you said that.
Especially because you have a team in your division that like literally just owns you.
I know, but listen, I'm going to play devil's advocate. At the same time, it is a division championship in the best division of football.
Yeah, but it's like a consolation prize because they had a chance to win the division and become the 2 seed, and then they lose the last game and they become the 4 seed because the Cardinals also lose, which is really
right.
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I think the Cardinals have enough to beat us. I mean, they have this year once already in LA.
Yeah.
And they were on they've been kind of going on a downward spiral, but that game against Seattle, they have so much firepower to score plenty of touchdowns.
Yeah.
And
Seattle putting up 38 with that
and,
offense that
and if we stall at all, like any bit of stalling, and our mojo is completely gone. I just don't know. It's hard for me to foresee a win. Which would just be, I mean, after that loss, I don't know how anybody thinks that that we can beat Arizona.
And we're 1 day off of the loss. So, I mean, let's give it 4 or 5 more days till we preview the Cardinals, and then we'll have kind of probably a different perspective. They are 4.5-point favorites for what it's worth in that wild card game. So there's hope to be had. I'm going to circle us back real quick. The Von Miller tweet talked about talent, talked about star power, whatever else that tweet mentioned. The first half of this game, Nick, and I know you'll agree with me here, I'm not sure I've seen a better half from the Rams in a big moment under Sean McVay. I haven't. I mean, of course, it's a Week 18 game. It wasn't a playoff game, but in the regular season, it's a big moment. They were only able to add 3 points in the opening drive in this game, but it had a ton of promise. Right, you saw 3rd down conversions, OBJ, Cooper Kupp, Cam Akers. You saw him get his first game action, and you saw a true commitment to the run game. I mean, I think they had 6 or 7 carries just in the first series alone. So, despite them not being explosive or overly productive early on from a run perspective, they took 9 minutes off of the clock, and the Rams' defense came out on fire after Matt Gay knocked one through. So, I mean, you saw Traven Howard make a great play on 3rd and long. Down the right sideline to break up a pass on the 49ers first series. And the Rams were able to get off the field in 6 plays. I mean, really solid start. Exactly kind of what we wanted to see within the first couple of series from the Rams. The 10-0 lead that they took, they rolled out their heavy package for the second time. You saw Joe Noteboom, Coleman Shelton. But this time, quarterback Matthew Stafford sold a hard pump fake, play action fake, and went over the top of Tyler Higbee. I mean, that's your fast start that we've been asking for the whole season. I thought, from that perspective, going up 10-0, they started fast. They were calling a good game. They were flipping the script, and it was all there to be had. So I felt good at that point. And then on Higbee's second touchdown, Powell set that up on an awesome punt return for 31 yards. And the Rams were in the end zone on 3 plays, which prompted your boy, Sean McVay, to run down the sideline thinking he was a player and got into the end zone. And the refs had to pull him by the shirt and say, "Yo, Sean, you can't do that, dude. What are you doing?" Well, I wanted to get your reaction on that.
Which, I mean,
17
probably
nothing.
just had Shanahan just being like, oh, like, F you. I'm going to do everything I can to win this game now. Like, sit your ass down. Like, I freaking own you, which is just so true. So, yeah, it's just really good play calling to start the game. Ballsy fourth down call, going for it on 4th and 1. They get it. I don't remember exactly when it was, whether it was the first touchdown drive or the second. But yeah, they get it. Higbee, 2 touchdowns. Last time he had 2 in a game, I think, was against the Eagles last year.
Yep.
I love to see him getting the ball, get going. But yeah, it all comes back to when they're driving down the field again to end the half, and it's empty on 3rd and inches.
Yeah.
It's just like, what is that? Like, everybody who watches these games and watches Sean McVay is sitting there like, what are you doing? Like, I'm like yelling at my roommate. I'm like, what is this? Like, why are they doing this? And like, as if I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, they do it all the freaking time, so it's not surprising, but it's just so irritating. It's like 2 things I hear or I see that just drive me nuts. And the one is when they're empty on 3rd down. It's like, something like that. And then the other is when I hear somebody say, oh, good arm punt by Matthew Stafford. Those are the 2 things that make me more mad than anything else. Even today on Twitter, people are saying, I'm like, oh, he had 2 interceptions, 8 total in the last 3 games. And people are like, oh, well, one of them was actually an arm punt. It was 3rd down. So, there's really only 1 interception.
It sounds like jokes are bad. Okay.
Ugh.
I have to tell you though, it's telling of what is to come later on in this game. The conservatism, the mistimed play calling, the poor play call, whatever you want to call it at that point. Sean McVay makes a bad decision and puts us in a bad spot. And the 49ers are relentless. I mean, that with 40 seconds left before the half, they took a shot to Brandon Ayuk down the sideline. Jimmy Garoppolo knew David Long was covering them. Take a shot, find a mismatch. They converted for 26 yards. They were able to set up a 42-yard field goal, which made it a 2-score game before the half, and they were getting the ball. Just going off of the Stafford thing real quick, because this was prior to the arm punt. This was prior to any turnovers. The only mistake he had made up until this point was the delay a game in the first series. When I tweeted, or the Rams brothers account rather, tweeted that Stafford looks so effing good. It was when he was 15 of 16 for 153 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I saw that on my screen.
He was legitimately perfect. But at the same time, as I have to say it, as I'm sitting there with my phone in my hand, as I'm writing out that tweet, as I hit send, I'm like, when is the inevitable interception going to come? When's the turnover going to happen? When's the fumble going to happen? Because it was far too good to be true at that point. When you see this team go up 17-0, take their foot off the gas, you see McVay run down the sideline, you see them get conservative of the half, it's a precursor for what the hell's going to happen in the second half. And the script, it's a tale of 2 halves with this team. And you cannot let your foot off of the throttle for 1 second against Kyle Shanahan, because when you do, it's right where he's got you. And I can't believe that that's the situation we're talking about with these 2 coaches.
It's funny too. This game reminds me a lot of the Super Bowl where the Patriots came back, where Shanahan actually was too aggressive.
Well, Shanahan has learned from that.
Right. No, I know. But, he's out there like making Matt Ryan throw and whatnot. And then the Patriots are like forcing these picks and fighting their way back into this game. Whereas like if he was more conservative in that game in the 3rd quarter, 4th quarter, they probably just, win it.
Yeah.
And then, on the flip side, you have McVay, who's kind of doing the exact same thing and like, trying to just go for the absolute glory, like home run, which you don't need when you're up 17-0. You really don't. You really just need to drive down the field. You have all the power to control the game, and you just relinquish it. Whatever the word is.
Relinquish.
Relinquish. Thank you. Yeah.
There you go. It's the first time I've been able to jump in as a dictionary help. But I mean, McVay's got to have some kind of analytics guy on the sideline say, if you can control the clock for the rest of this first half and you can hold Kyle Shanahan to no points, you could be up 17-0. That's a 3-possession game. Your probability of winning the game goes up X percentage or X points, whatever you want to call it. So, I mean, that to me is a situation where you just have to have better situational awareness, and you can call a series that's catered to just taking time off of the clock. You don't have to go 3 straight run plays to Sony Michel. You could run play action. You could bring in your heavy personnel. Just get creative, right? All the things that McVay does well, and that he did well throughout this game. But again, the 49ers were relentless. In the second half of this game, despite trailing 2 touchdowns when the second half began, the 49ers, they never abandoned the run. Like at any moment, if you're ever going to bet against the 49ers abandoning the run, you're going to lose the bet. It worked so well for them in the matchup against the Rams in November, as we remember. At one point in this game, in the third quarter, one of the third quarter possessions, Kyle Shanahan actually called 10 straight running plays. 10 straight. None of them went for more than 9 yards, but it was Elijah Mitchell and Deebo Samuel, and Elijah Mitchell again, getting into the second level, forcing our defensive backs to tackle, forcing our linebackers to tackle.
And nobody could tackle yesterday.
No, nobody could tackle. I mean, I don't know what the hell was going on. It felt like I was watching a high school team in the second half. But I mean, you just continued to break the Rams' back in that situation. And the Rams' defense allowed 10 rushing yards in the first half. They gave up 135 total in this game. So just dagger after dagger. And it was in small increments, the way that the 49ers love to do. Not to mention they have a great rhythm short passing game that can just also kind of, when you're in 3rd and 7, you could hit a slant, or you could find a mismatch on Ayuk and David Long. And they're so good at that. It makes me sick. For as many times, I'm going to get sick again as I say this, but Kyle Shanahan schemes up an incredible run game. I mean, he does. We say it every single time they play against each other, but you got to give credit where credit's due. He schemes ball carriers away from the best part of our defense. It's every week in and week out. The front and the first level of our defense is obviously the best part. I mean, you're talking Aaron Donald, everybody up front. And then the second and third level, our linebackers, our defensive backs, they get a little bit weaker. And the 49ers are all about mismatches and matchups, and not just during pre-snap either. Like Deebo Samuel in the open field, in the open space, against Taylor Rapp, against David Long, against Nick Scott is a mismatch if the ball's in his hands as well. So they want to get that also. They also do motions and plenty of bunches to get players in space. And he runs plays that Mike Shanahan ran back in like the late 80s and the early 90s. That pitch that goes right up the A gap is a play from the late 80s, or probably before then. I could be, that could be my ignorance showing there, or my age. But at the same time, they flipped the script right back on our head. In the first half, the Rams possessed the ball for 10 more minutes and ran 14 more plays. While in the second half, the 49ers possessed the ball for 10 more minutes and ran 11 more plays than us. And 19 missed tackles. 19 missed tackles. Are you kidding me? That can't happen. This team is not, they should not be missing tackles in the second and third level. But I mean, again, injuries.
Everybody wants to blame the defense. When you're up 17-0 and the defense allows like its first score, or 17-3, like its first touchdown in the second half, you have to be able to respond to that as an offense. Like the defense did a really good job to start this game. They gave up 3 points after 30 minutes. And like I'm done blaming the defense. I really am.
Yeah.
That was a display of like 19 missed tackles, They also, we'll talk about it, comes up. They forced an amazing pick, one of the coolest picks I've ever seen. They definitely fumble it at the very end. Hold them to 3 in overtime though, which is huge. Give you a chance to go down and score. And the offense just decides to just lay eggs over and over and over again to start this second half.
Yeah, it's as frustrating as it gets. So when the 49ers went on to score 14 scoreless points, it was on the back of Deebo Samuel, who threw a touchdown and also ran for a touchdown. You talk about like Rams Killer Hall of Fame. Deebo Samuel just got his jersey in the Rams Killer Hall of Fame. Whether that's in Cleveland or St. Louis or Los Angeles, I don't know where that exists, but Deebo's jersey's there. They were so patient offensively. They knew when they were able to suck us in with the run, and they took shots when there were shots to be had. Stafford's pick 6, though. Or not picks. Okay, so this is how you say I'm saying Stafford's pick 6. There was no pick 6 in this game.
Did I say there was a pick 6? No.
I did. I just said Stafford's pick 6. But I meant to say Stafford's first pick during the tie game. It was 17-17 towards the end of the third quarter. I have to say, you mentioned this already, but if I hear that term arm punt one more time, like, is it just because we were graced by the presence of Matthew Stafford that we also get blessed with that terminology? Because it's bullshit. I don't want to hear it. Matthew Stafford threw the ball to Ben Skoranek in double coverage on 3rd and 16.
Like triple coverage, really.
Wasn't a good decision. But what led up to that was a long developing pass play on 1st down, which resulted in a sack. We were both probably simultaneously saying, although we weren't watching the game together, good, glad he took the sack there. It was then prompted McVay to go into empty on 2nd and 16, which was an incomplete pass to Sony underneath, and then the arm punt. I mean, your defense just allowed a 7.5 minute drive that was capped off by Deebo Samuel throwing a touchdown by Juwan, right place at the right time, Jennings, to tie the game. It was a massive momentum swing. You felt it in the stadium. Don't you think it's time to maybe kind of take control back of the game? Like, you don't want to give your defense a break. You probably want to give your defense a break in this situation and head into the last 8 minutes of the 1st quarter with a touchdown lead. Like, I don't understand what the thought process, the play calling in that situation in a tie game when you're trying to get momentum back. You could establish something. You put yourself in a good situation to win the game. I don't know what the purpose of calling 3 long developing pass plays is.
I think I really think Matthew Stafford is okay with losing. And I think I feel like that's not a very nice thing to say. But he comes from Detroit. He's gonna be a gunslinger and throw up those as many arm punts as he can, thinking that he's gonna hit every single one. And then when he doesn't hit them, he's like, "Oh, we tried." You know what I mean? Like, we gave it our all. This is Los Angeles. It's win or get out of town. And if we lose in the first round of the playoffs with this guy, I don't want to see him on the team next year. I mean, straight up. And I know that most Rams fans probably don't want to share that opinion.
I don't blame you for one damn second.
But I honestly wouldn't want to see him on the team next year, like, straight up. It would be like I legitimately, it just drives me mad. Like, when will these Rams fans get it through their heads? 8 turnovers in 3 games, the last 3 games of the season. Like, maybe if they lost the Vikings game and the Baltimore game, maybe they start thinking different. But golly, man, come on. When is this guy going to get criticism from this fan base? It is absurd.
Well,
nobody wants to criticize him. I'm the only one. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Okay. Fair.
I don't understand. And he continues to prove me right. And then everyone's like, "Oh, Nick, here you are rooting for it again." And I'm like, I literally have a podcast about the Rams. Why do you think I would be rooting for the Rams to lose? It blows my mind. It literally boggles my mind. You ever played Boggle? Oh,
I actually haven't.
Boggle's horrible.
Yeah, I'm sure. There are Rams fans that feel the same way that you do. I'm glad you were able to let that out. I am. But I do have to say, I will play devil's advocate, as I tend to do. But this is how I legitimately feel. All right. Stafford, I thought, was really good in this game. I think he's oftentimes not put in favorable positions by his coach. And, you make the same argument about Jared Goff.
Oh, I'm just kidding, by the way. I'm sorry.
No. About what?
Boggle is a great game. I was thinking of Yahtzee. Boggle is actually a very fun game.
Right. Cutting off my compelling argument here.
Sorry.
My counter argument.
Please.
God, I'm trying to win the case. When you talk about Stafford and McVay and not being put in favorable positions, I think that was a really good example of one, right? Was a long developing drop back on 1st down, get sacked. You're an empty on 2nd and 16, incomplete pass. And then you got to take the arm punt. That's not necessarily favorable play calling when you're tied 17-17 in your own house, even though it didn't feel like they were in their own house. At the same time, I mean, you kind of brought him in to compensate for things like an interior line breaking down or the coach not putting you in a favorable position, right? So if McVay makes the wrong call, you brought in Stafford to save the day. When the pocket collapses and McVay makes the wrong call, Stafford is supposed to be the guy that bails you out. That is how it is. That's what we were sold. That is the.
I don't think he's done any bailing at all this whole year.
he's been good in the fourth quarter, but he's been essentially bailing himself out.
Yeah, he's been
But
putting himself in bad situations and then having to bail himself out. It's like all these fourth quarter comebacks are because he put them in a situation where he gives them 6 points. Like that, I think if like Peyton Manning were to throw a pick six and give the other team a lead, and then the fourth quarter is a chance to win, obviously he would have a lot more fourth quarter comebacks.
I think a lot of guys would.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong. Man, I would love for somebody to break that stat out. But I do think that everything we've talked about to this point, everything, the whole season, with Stafford, with Goff, with McVay, it's all going to come down to how he performs in the playoffs. That's it. Performance in the playoffs.
I'm not going to change my tune until he does something in the playoffs either. And I've said it all year because
but I mean, you shouldn't. You should not.
No, I mean, no, I'm not. I don't care what anybody says. That's just
the only reason I say is to save the criticism, and we tweeted that out yesterday, because it's to be had. There's plenty of it to be had.
Yeah, no, I mean, criticism, like criticize McVay, criticize the defense, criticize the O-line, maybe a little Odell criticism because I'm not sure he 100% knows the routes and the plays yet.
Yeah, no, over time.
But when you have a chance to drive down the field at home, to win the game, score a touchdown, win, get the second seed, and you underthrow somebody who is clearly wide open to win the game, to end the game-ending interception, and then you want to go blame the fans and say, yeah, it was actually really hard for us to communicate the entire second half. I don't know how you're supposed to, like, how anybody's supposed to really be on your side, really. Like, yeah, we'll go into the fourth quarter and the beautiful dime to Kupp in the end zone, but that's Cooper Kupp. Like, he is the offensive player of the year. Like, he's going to go up and make those catches and those plays. Like, you got to do better, Stafford. You really do. Matthew, Matt, whatever you don't want to be called, I'm calling you that.
Well, it's a couple of things. I think that the final drive in regulation, Sean McVay said that he would do things. This is from Jordan Rodriguez post-game. Said that he would do things differently in the final offensive sequence before the 49ers scored a tie. He broke the news that Matthew Stafford was dealing with a toe issue that he suffered earlier on in the game that affected what they perhaps would have tried in their action game or in moving the spot or a pass play or two. He said that Stafford felt good when he came in this morning, and he doesn't anticipate the toe being a factor in any way moving forward, but she does think it's notable, based off of the sequencing at the moment. So did Sean McVay just blame his own conservatism on Matthew Stafford's toe? Is that what I just got out of what I read?
That's what it sounds like to me.
I mean, I'm not too old to remember when Aaron Rodgers had COVID toe and still dominated us.
Yeah.
You're going to let a toe injury hold you back from making a play call to send you into the 2 seed?
I'm happy he's at least not just like singing Stafford's praises anymore, because at least he's saying, he's definitely he's not, his toe was a problem, and that's why. I mean, I want him to get up on the podium and say our quarterback has an interception problem, but I guess that's just not going to happen.
But I mean, really, the toe? I mean, you really decided that's the card you decided to play? I mean, 3 straight running plays, Michelle. On 3rd and 7, the 49ers had 10 men in the box and a single high safety.
Yeah,
I wanted Stafford. I wanted him so bad to just play action, keep it himself, roll out with gimpy toe and convert it, or make a throw, hit Higbee, who was also lined up. I think Kupp and Higbee were both lined up on the right side of the line of scrimmage. So I'm sure that those guys could have blocked and dragged or rolled out.
Jet sweep or something.
Something like that. But I mean, that to me is, I mean, you could run that same fake that you ran when you went up 10-0, or you boot Stafford out, as I mentioned. But Martz did the same exact thing. Mike Martz, remember we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago when they played the replay of the Rams and Panthers divisional round again on NFC Network and NFL Network rather. And Mike Martz was calling the game. Obviously, it was right before the end of regulation, and I think he went run play just to get into overtime, or he took a couple of knees. I don't know. Somebody fact checked me on that, but it was as conservative as you get just to get into overtime. And when you have an opportunity to go for the kill, to take advantage, to try and win the game, it's the conservatism just kills me a little bit. I think the problem.
As a gambler myself, it definitely like it feels like when you're down in gambling, that's when you kind of make like bigger plays. Like you want to like chase getting back to start, right?
Yep. Yep.
And then when you're winning and you have the money that you won, you place like small bets because you're like, I don't want to lose this money that I won.
Yeah, exactly.
So when his back when McVay's back is against the wall, that's when he starts throwing out all these like like deep bombs and like all these like giant plays. But then when he has a chance to really like make a killing and like end the game and place like a great bet, he just like throws like a little bit in there, and it's like it doesn't kind of come out on top. Which
There's a lot of psychology that comes behind that, right? I think it's when you could speak for it and vouch for it just as a gambler, but I mean, as a head coach, you're kind of a gambler. I mean, you kind of have to make sure that you're trying to find the right play call at the very right time, at the right moment to strike on the right mismatch or the right matchup or whatever it could be. And I mean, you're going against Kyle Shanahan, a guy that, I mean, that's already a head game in its own after you lose 5 straight. So to be consistent throughout this whole game was a lot to expect out of McVay in its own. But he was really, really good up until the very end, until the moments really mattered the most. And then you saw who the better coach was in the heat of it.
I just based on this game, I just don't know how far I can see him going.
Yeah, I mean, I think they showed enough this season.
The last 3 games, I don't think they really deserve to win the Ravens game, and they definitely didn't deserve to win this one. So, like, if you're in a game where it's like score to score, like last couple seconds, I just don't think they have what it takes to be clutch. Everybody
Right.
wants to say Matthew Stafford is this clutch quarterback. Well, you're only clutch when it's like clutch is like the last like 3 seconds of like a game, last 3 seconds of like a playoff game. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Regular season clutch really means nothing. Like it's not going to get you anywhere. Like you don't really deserve the clutch title unless you're out here like making great plays like in a playoffs or like in a Super Bowl, in a championship. That's clutch. That's ice in the veins.
Right.
And I just don't know if they have it. You could
The
argue that McVay doesn't because he was in a Super Bowl and couldn't do any adjusting.
Yeah, I think the pass down the sideline to Odell Beckham Jr. I mean, that's the way how close this game was. You're less conservative. You don't let them kick a field goal before the half ends. You hold them in overtime, or you get the deep pass to Odell, and breaks the game wide open. And McVay's a genius, and Stafford's amazing, and it's amazing how like that. It's that little of a detail. It's a yard and a half on a throw that makes the difference in our entire conversation. So I think it's something to note. I think they showed us a lot this season to prove they can get through Arizona. I know they could beat the Packers. I mean, I know it may be crazy to say, maybe it's a hot take, but I know that they could beat the Packers. And my brother-in-law will kill me if he hears me say that. And then who's the other team? It's a Tampa Bay. We already beat them this year. The Cowboys. I mean, they're not impossible to beat. So, I mean, I think it's wide open.
Well,
I don't
if you think
worth
that they
the
can
lose
beat
pick.
Arizona, then you almost have to root for the Niners or the Eagles to upset so you don't face the Packers immediately in the second round. And then if you're in the NFC Championship, all bets are off. I mean, it's 2 teams. Anyone can win.
Right. I say that I just can't get ahead of myself because like when I went back and I watched that last drive in overtime, like it just felt so hectic and disorganized. And even though there was a home field advantage, and that was like your 5th reason why we felt like the Rams actually had an advantage this year or this game compared to the game back in November, the fact that the energy in the stadium was just weak. The first play, Odell Beckham Jr. and Cooper Kupp ran the exact same route. And then he goes right back to Odell Beckham Jr. again on the second play, and he skips it to him. And then third down was a miraculous defensive holding on Cooper Kupp, which kept the drive alive. And then Higbee for 9 yards, then Michelle for a first down, and then the underthrow that seals our playoff fate. But it's that close. So 49ers, again, a less than a 1% chance of winning the game. So what they had to do in this game to win, they had to force a 3-and-out by the Rams with 1:57 left, which they did, which was very easy at that point. They had to score a touchdown with no timeouts, which they did. They had to prevent the Rams from scoring in overtime and in regulation. They had to win the toss.
Also, take Matthew Stafford out when the coin toss is there. There's some ridiculous stat where when like he walks out by himself, they like always lose the toss. Put Donald out there. I don't want to see him out there.
Yeah, I know.
His hands in his little pocket.
Ramsey. Yeah, let Ramsey out there. But I mean, by the fourth quarter rolled around, the 49ers were missing K'Wan Williams, Trent Williams, Jaquiski Tart, Taylor Noah Huffananga, JaMychal Hasty got knocked out. They lost the defensive tackle. They lost their right tackle. Their punter got knocked out. And Jimmy G was wearing a freaking Tommy John Brett Favre arm bracelet or bandage or hand wrap, whatever you want to call it. They also had 2 inactive linebackers, Azeez Al-Shaair and Marcel Harris. So it's about as bad as it gets. They also lost their safety to a knee, or they lost their safety to a knee injury. They also lost Tart to a groin strain, but it forced Dante Johnson, who was already filling in at nickel quarterback, to move to strong safety. And it meant Darqueze Dennard, who was only added to the roster this past Wednesday, came in and played nickel for them and played well. And then Colton McKivitz came in and played left tackle. I mean, this was a great example of a football team that had their backs against the wall, that felt like they had a team's number, that no matter what was going on from an injury perspective, if Kyle Shanahan was coaching, if Jimmy G was the quarterback and Deebo Samuel was on the field in any capacity, they were going to win the game. That was the mindset that they had, and they pulled it off, and it's as painful as it could possibly be. Jordan Fuller also is now going to be out for the season. He's most likely going to need ankle surgery. Taylor Rapp's in concussion protocol, and Ernest Jones is still on IR. He's going to be reevaluated next week if necessary, if the Rams beat the Cardinals. Otherwise, he's going to have his leg up playing Apex or Call of Duty or whatever the hell people play now. So you won't see Fuller or Jones at all in Arizona, and Rapp is to be determined. Another stat, Sean McVay is now 45-1 when leading at halftime. Are you happy you'll no longer see that stat?
I hope so. I hope we never see it again.
Something to keep your spirits up. Cooper Kupp is the first Triple Crown winner. First off, shout out to Cooper Kupp for winning the Triple Crown. Probably deserved his own episode this season. But since Steve Smith in 2005, that 2005 Panthers team with Steve Smith as the Triple Crown winner, they went on to win the wild card game against the Giants. Then they beat the Bears in the divisional round. Then they lost to the Seattle Seahawks, who went on, played in the Super Bowl, lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So there's hope. Triple Crown winners usually take their teams pretty deep. So have some faith.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, Stafford had this guy, had the other guy that broke the record, right? And just it wasn't able to take him past the first, wasn't able to even win a playoff game. Yeah. So, I mean, let's just see if Cooper Kupp in all his glory,
I'll tell you
get him
what,
under center. You know what I mean?
One thing that the difference in Megatron and Cooper Kupp, that ball that Matthew Stafford throws up on the sideline to Odell Beckham Jr. in overtime, Megatron makes that play.
Yeah, I mean, he sees that it's underthrown and stops
right away. I mean, you got the chemistry with Stafford. The ball 1 out of 6 times, 7 times will be severely underthrown, so you got to go back 5 or 7 yards and make a play. Do yourself a favor, please. Do not go anywhere near the 2022 schedule. Just don't do it, especially the road schedule. I mean, the only thing, if you want to keep your eye on something, as we're potentially heading into the offseason.
Chargers game away.
Chargers game away. What do you mean?
Oh, I thought you were going to call that out because it's like a home game. Because we play the Chargers at SoFi.
Oh no, I didn't even see that. Oh, that's true though. That's pretty cool. Regardless, I think the one thing to keep an eye on is Kevin O'Connell could be potentially interviewed, could go to the Vikings to go be the head coach. He's getting some other interview opportunities, and Raheem Morris for head coaching jobs. But on the flip side, Brian Flores was probably the worst firing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
He wins 19 games with Tua turned the ball over in 2 years. and they fire him, that's pretty rough. He's going to be a great defensive coordinator somewhere else.
I
Same with
think
Vic
I
Fangio.
think he'll be a head coach
Or a head coach. Well, he will be a head coach. You're right. And Vic Fangio could potentially be a head coach, or he could potentially be out on the street looking for a defensive coordinator job.
I mean, I would take him as a defensive coordinator.
Yeah, but I don't think he's going to get hired as a head coach. I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Or it depends on what he wants to do. But a very legitimate upgrade could be made at defensive coordinator if Raheem Morris big times us. But I mean, from the last 6 weeks, it's not Raheem Morris's group, right? I mean, I think they're dealing with some injuries to some key players. Jalen Ramsey had to assume play calling when Jordan Fuller went out. Taylor Rapp went out. I mean, you saw Burgess and Nick Scott at safety. And they got some big mismatches. So I don't know if it's all Raheem Morris that you have to, hang your hat on and blame. I mean, we talked a lot in this episode about McVay and Stafford. And I think that the problem is, if the offense is good enough, if they want to be as elite as they were in 2018 or 2001 or 1999, then you got to be big in big moments. And I just don't think they're there yet, as much as it hurts me to say. Outside of that, Nick's picks were perfect.
How about that? I was like, yeah, last week I ended it saying, yeah, we haven't had a perfect week yet. So hopefully we get one on the last week. And we do. Every year there seems to be at least 1 or 2 perfect weeks. So I'm happy that,
you know what?
It
seemed like you did a little extra homework, and everything you said came to fruition like throughout the 1:00 games. I think you had 3 of your 4 bets were in the 1:00 games. Those were all like being checked off as we went.
No, I think it was 4 for 4.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that early you had.
Oh, right. Well, I mean, one of them was a Saturday game.
Yeah, right. Yep, that too.
Yeah.
So you're cruising. I think the play, if the Rams go back into the 2005 to 2016 era of losing, maybe this turns into Rams Brothers the Gamblers.
Yeah, maybe.
Only kidding. But at the same time, I think there's still faith to be had. I mean, what is your honest outlook? Do you have any confidence left?
If you want me to be honest, which I think I have been all season, so I think I owe it to everybody to continue to be honest.
If you want me to just be myself, I'm just going to go and do it.
Which I always am, unapologetically. Yep. I think they lose first round of the playoffs. And I don't want to see that, which I think I should tell everybody. I don't want them to lose. I foresee them losing. I still think they have what it takes to win. I think they have so much talent on this team. I think they can go all the way. But right now, after what we just saw, I don't think any of them would say, yeah, no, how do you not think we're going to win this game? Because you just put on a display of terrible second half football that ended up with a game-ending interception. And look, if Stafford wants to keep throwing these picks in like key moments, like in playoff games, then we're just absolutely boned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel like Goff's playoff numbers, at least with turnovers, is like excruciatingly low.
It's so weird. I really don't want to talk Goff and Stafford, but today I saw something today, and it was the open play underneath when Stafford took the shot in overtime. It's like Goff takes that all day, and Stafford takes the fourth option that's all the way down the field. There's such a large gap in what you traded for, and it's like you just want there to be a happy medium between the two of them, and it's just they're so severely different, and that's why it's painful.
Yeah, I actually don't think. Oh, this is something that I was thinking about in the game. So in life, I feel like there's like 2 kinds of partnerships. There is the the Adam McKay, Will Ferrell kind of partnership. And if you're not familiar, Adam McKay directed a bunch of those like Step Brothers and Anchorman. And him and Will Ferrell had this partnership where it was kind of like they always encouraged each other, and there was never like any like negativity.
Mm-hmm.
It was always like, oh, let's do this. That's hilarious. Yeah. Like, let's just keep going. And like, yeah. Like, that's funny. Let's put that in. Let's put this in. Where it's just like only positivity, and it's like thinking that each other is amazing, and you just keep kind of propelling them.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the Paul McCartney, John Lennon partnership where you're constantly like battling and like forcing each other to be better, like just through how good you are. The other partner wants to be better than you, but you also are like lifting each other, like lifting yourself and the other up in the same time. And I think Stafford and McVay are more like the Adam McKay, Will Ferrell partnership, where they think like both of them are amazing, and there's no real like challenging. Where with McVay and Goff, I think there was like a real challenge, at least for McVay, to like have to succeed almost in spite of Goff, which is kind of how John Lennon was with Paul McCartney. It was like, I'm kind of bringing this guy along towards the end, and like, it resulted in a breakup, and most amazing partnerships usually do. And I just think when you have two guys that think they're both amazing and they're both great, it leads to eventually crappy movies like Sherlock Holmes and or Sherlock and Holmes, or whatever the heck it was called.
Yeah.
John C. Reilly and Will Ferrell and Adam McKay made this like horrible Sherlock Holmes movie,
and then there's a new Lakers series, and John C. Reilly got the role, and Will Ferrell was pushed out. Which, again, I guess your point is, even with me and you, all good partnerships will eventually blow up, and we'll hate each other.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
We're trending in that direction.
A little bit.
No, I'm just kidding. But maybe.
Right after we cut the podcast, we just yelled at each other. Dean's like, "Stop bringing up Goff," and I'm like, "It's the only argument I need, Dean."
No, it's this. Yeah, I always feel like whenever we make a joke, I have to be like, "Just kidding," but it's whatever.
The people just think that like when you're on Twitter, everything you say is like apps, like you will die on that hill, and it's like people change and opinions change and life happens. And
whatever.
Like people need to act like Twitter isn't like just pretend like you're having a conversation with somebody, and like, but just people don't want to do that.
Just pretend like everybody in your replies is a Niners fan, and you just won't be compelled to respond.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, there goes an hour and a half of my day going back and forth with Deebo Samuel or whatever the hell the guy's name is, Deebo Samuel XY on Twitter, like whatever the hell. It's like there, you put a lot of time and energy in going back and forth on social media. It's not worth it. It's really not. Yeah. But all right, I guess that's how we're gonna end it.
Yeah, let's just end it on Matthew Stafford, 8 turnovers in the last 3 games of the season.
Yeah, well, whatever. I have faith. For the record, publish that.
I have faith.
Okay.
I have slim faith.
Okay.
Slim Jim faith.
Rams fans, we'll talk to you again in about 4 or 5 days. Friday, Saturday, maybe we'll do a preview for the game because it's Monday night. Maybe we'll get it done Thursday. We'll see. But anyway, thanks for listening. Been a crazy episode. Been a crazy couple of days. Been a crazy season. It's good to have you guys alongside of us. We've grown exponentially again throughout this season, and it's all thanks to you guys and thanks to your commitment. And it's awesome to be able to do this together. I mean, this is the saving grace of everything. It's like you have to sit through a horrible game, but you also have a good fan base you get to talk to. I got a brother I get to talk to about it, and you get to have fun with it. So that's my piece, my saving grace, and all this stuff. Also, golf. Right? It's going to be warm in a couple months, and I'm going to be crushing it. So,
yeah, I'm worried that last year was the first year I really golfed, and I haven't golfed since October.
I know you were awfully confident that you could take me down.
Not October. When was your bachelor party? It was like this summer.
June.
I haven't really golfed since June, so I feel like I'm not going to be as good. But we'll see.
Well, yeah, if the Rams have a playoff game back in LA, maybe I'll have to make a trip to Manhattan Beach. We'll play at that golf course.
Yeah, yesterday was like I felt like our dad, because after the Rams lost, I didn't talk to him. Like after the interception happened, everyone's like looking at me. Got up from my seat, put my shoes on, and took a walk around the neighborhood because I just couldn't.
Immediately when the game ended, I took all the trash out. Sunday night is trash night at my house, and I had a bunch of cardboard boxes. I was aggressively ripping them apart in the garage, and then had to take everything in the wet, freezing cold rain in socks. Just took everything out in my misery, just to let it rain down and absorb the pain.
I'm going for a walk just to like ease tension, and one of my neighbors is like, "Oh, did you see the game?" And I'm in like full Rams attire.
Yeah,
and I'm
like
just
no shit, Jeremy.
I'm
I
just
saw
like,
the game. Yeah, thanks, bud. Saw
but
it.
yeah, all right. Let's wrap it up. We hit 50 minutes today.
Okay. Cue the Kincaid rule music. Go Rams for life.
Go Rams, guys. Horns up. Have some faith.
Peace. Have faith. Gotta have faith.
The faith.